Hello everybody and welcome back to another local history video. Now this week I thought I would delve back into the darker side of Dundee and the surrounding area, and I'm going to tell you one of our more gruesome local legends, but this is an old favourite with a lot of people, so I thought I would give it an outing. And this is a story which mostly takes place round about Moniki. Now the road that goes through Moniki today is now a lovely drive through the Angus countryside. But there was a time when people dreaded passing by that road. Everyone had heard of somebody who had gone by that way and never returned. And this was connected to a den by the side of the road, a natural ravine, and it's not far from where the Moniki Reservoir is today. There's actually a stone quarry there at the moment. But the place came to be known as the Fiend's Den, or Denfiend, because it was home to a dreaded family. In the Fiend's Den lived a clan of cannibals who would only feed on human flesh. And they had over the years become experts at waiting for somebody to be passing by on their own on the road, and they would sneak out and bash them over the head from behind and drag them back to their den, where they would roast people over a roaring fire and pile their bones up in a heap in the corner. Now, the Denfiend clan were not particularly fussy. They would eat just about anybody. But if they had the choice, they did prefer their meat to be young and tender, and children were their favourite delicacy. Now, for a long time, nobody knew quite what was going on and why people were going missing from that road. But they soon realised that something nasty was going on, so of course, people stopped taking that road. They would go a long way round. But this meant the den of fiends were cut off from their ready supply of fresh meat, and they started to get hungry. So they took to going on raids themselves, and they would creep into the nearby villages and farms, and they would lie in wait for children coming home in the evenings or people going on a wander at night. But this was their downfall. They got a bit too confident in how close they were willing to go to where people lived. And people started to pick up on what was going on. And one evening somebody spotted one of them scurrying away back to the den, and they called up the militia from Dundee to track them down to their gory home. And when they found their way to the den, there they found the father and mother and a whole array of children ranging in age, so there was grown-up sons and daughters, and they went down all the way to a wee lass who was just 1 year old. Now, the entire clan of fiends were put in chains and taken into the city of Dundee to stand trial. And of course, it didn't take much to prove their guilt. They'd been found among the bones of their victims. So, almost all of the family were sentenced to execution. But people saw this wee girl she was just 1 year old, and they thought she couldn't have had any part in this herself. And they thought she was probably young enough that if they reintroduced her to society now, she had a good chance of growing up to have a normal life. And what people decided was that if this wee girl could be raised with a family in Dundee, and by the time she came to adulthood she showed no signs of following in the family footsteps, they would just let her go about her life. So she was placed with a foster family. And for a while they thought this would be fine. But unfortunately, she did show some signs that worried people. She didn't seem to enjoy eating normal food. If she was given soup or tatties, she would eat it if she was really hungry, but very, very reluctantly. And her family soon realised that they had to watch her around other children because she was definitely a biter. So, as the years went on and the girl grew to be in her late teens, people kept a suspicious eye on her. And one day, when a local child went missing, everyone knew where to look. And it turned out that the last member of the Denfiend clan had indeed been following in the family footsteps. And she too was sentenced to be burned in the Seagate for the same crime that had seen her family off 18 years before. And on the day of her execution, crowds of people gathered round and they were booing and hissing and shouting at her for the horror of her crimes. But she remained calm and composed, and she showed no guilt at all. In fact, the very last words she ever said as she turned to face the crowd were, "Why chide ye me as if I had committed a crime? Give me credit. If you had the experience of eating human flesh, you would think it so delicious that you would never forbear it again." And so she died without any sign of repentance. Now, as much as I would like to tell you that this story is absolutely historically proven true, I do feel like I should mention that the place name Denfiend actually predates any sort of records of the legend. There is a mention of Denfiend in a royal charter dating from 1406. So the chances are that people saw this place name and thought that the place needed a good fiend to go with it. You might also notice that the story does have a lot of similarities to the story of the Dundee Clan in Ayrshire, who were also a sort of cannibal family known for raiding from their cave. But you never really know with these things.